Bonjour tout le monde, it's Cindy from Frencheezee.com. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to conjugate the verb vouloir in the passé composé, and we're also going to touch on what the difference is between vouloir in the imperfect versus in the passé composé. But before we start, remember if you'd like to take one-to-one lessons from a native French teacher, there is a discount from italki in the description. Vouloir au passé composé. To conjugate the verb vouloir in the passé composé, which is also called the perfect tense, you first need to conjugate the verb avoir in the present tense and then add the past participle of the verb vouloir, like so. J'ai voulu. Repeat. J'ai voulu. Tu as voulu. Tu as voulu. Il a voulu. Elle a voulu. On a voulu. Nous avons voulu. Repeat. Nous avons voulu. Vous avez voulu. Vous avez voulu. Ils ont voulu. Elles ont voulu. Don't forget to make the liaison between on, nous, vous, il and elle and the verb avoir, because when conjugated, avoir starts with a vowel. Generally speaking, when you conjugate the verb vouloir in the passé composé, it translates to wanted, but sometimes it does translate to have wanted. Let's have a look at some examples. J'ai voulu essayer une nouvelle recette. J'ai voulu essayer, I wanted to try, une nouvelle recette, a new recipe. Now let's talk about the difference between vouloir in the passé composé and vouloir in imperfect. If I had said instead, je voulais essayer une nouvelle recette, technically, this would also translate to, I wanted to try a new recipe. So what is the difference between the two? Well, if you remember, the imperfect is used to talk about ongoing actions or states in the past, whereas the passé composé is used to talk about completed actions that started and ended at a specific time. So what does this mean in regards to the verb vouloir? Well, it means that when you use voulait, so when you use the imperfect, you're describing a lasting state of mind. Whereas when you use the passé composé, est voulu, for example, the wanting was very brief, because either you acted upon it straight away, or maybe you realized that what you wanted couldn't be accomplished for whatever reason. In other words, when you're using the imperfect of vouloir, you definitely mean wanted. But when you're using the passé composé of vouloir, it usually has the meaning of tried to or decided to. So for example, in this instance, j'ai voulu essayer une nouvelle recette. I wanted to try a new recipe. When I say that, I actually tried it. Imagine if I say, I wanted to try a new recipe, sorry you don't like it. You say I wanted, but you actually did try it. So you need to use the verb vouloir in the passé composé because the wanting was very brief, you acted upon it pretty much straight away and tried the recipe. So instead of translating j'ai voulu with I wanted, technically, we could actually translate it with I tried a new recipe. I hope this makes sense. Let's have a look at another example. Ils ont voulu m'inviter. They wanted to invite me. So the fact that we're using the passé composé here means that them wanting to invite me didn't last long, most likely because they acted upon it. So this sentence could also translate to either they tried to invite me or they decided to invite me. And either I accepted the invite or I didn't. However, if I had said il voulait m'inviter, then the wanting would have been ongoing and most likely they never actually made the invite and that is why their wanting was ongoing. Maybe their mum decided that she didn't like me, so they never actually were able to invite me. But this didn't stop them wanting. Let's have a look at a few more examples. Il a voulu ouvrir la porte, mais elle était fermée à clé. He wanted to open the door, but it was locked. So again, passé composé, very brief and sudden wish of opening the door. It started when he got to the door and it ended when he realized that it was locked. So, very brief indeed. So what this really means is he tried to open the door, but it was locked. Remember, passé composé of vouloir more often than not translates to tried to or decided to if the sentence is positive, but bear in mind that it can also translate to refused if you're using negation. For example, il n'a pas voulu ouvrir la porte means he refused to open the door. So even though vouloir does mean to want, in the passé composé it also has several other meanings. Tried to, decided to, refused to. Whereas vouloir in the imperfect just means wanted, or didn't want for that matter. So if you remember, earlier in the lesson, I said that vouloir in the passé composé can also sometimes translate to have wanted. Well, here's an example of when this happens. Basically, whenever you want to say what you've always or never wanted, then you need to use vouloir in the passé composé. Nous avons toujours voulu aller en France. We've always wanted to go to France. Now, why don't you let me know in the comments below in French one thing you've always wanted to do and one thing you've never wanted to do. Also, talking about comments, I do realize that this lesson was a bit more involved than my other lessons of this type, so if there is anything at all that you didn't understand, please feel free to ask for clarification in the comments. If you'd like to get the written version of my lessons so you can revise on the go or monthly exercises to practice what we learn here, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Frencheezee. And if you found this lesson useful, please give it a thumbs up and share it. If it's your first time on my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. I upload new lessons regularly. And remember, you can also find the links to my social media in the description. Thanks for watching. À la prochaine. Bye.